live, Coding Oak Live. So this is a live. I'm on my mobile device. And one reason I went live with this mobile device was I actually just cleaned the screen. I cleaned the front facing camera. For a while it was blurry. For some reason I had this thing where um, the case I use for my phone, I would clean the case and it would always get dusty and dirty. It might have something to do with where I work at, but something about the case, it just traps either dirt or powder or uh, dead skin cells. It just gets dirty. But I have the front facing camera looking pretty good right now. So this is about software development in 2026. I'm currently working on a big game. I'm putting a game together. It's with React, Remix, and Supabase. Supabase is a Postgres like platform thing, platform as a service, something like that. But the Postgres Supabase setup is really good because it saves all the data. It does authentication like automatically, and it also does real time broadcasting, which is WebSockets. It does WebSockets, so you update data in the tables and it gets broadcasted to your application. The authentication process is really cool because, for one thing, it handles passwords all under the hood. So a new user signs up through your React Supabase program, and Supabase just saves the password hidden deep inside of Supabase. And according to the documentation, it's it's like not accessible. It's totally abstracted and managed by Supabase. So it must comply with some Supabase must comply with some sort of standard to be storing and saving user information like that. I think I want to call I'm tired of saying Supabase. I think it's a really cool name for a thing, but it's just too much of a mouthful. I think I just want to call it like Sioux or something. Just call it Sioux, like the Sioux Indians, I guess. Sioux, yeah, Sioux. Um, so the program I'm making is it's a chess program. It's a game platform. So users go on and just play. They just play. It's mostly just a passion project. It's a passion project. I'm not trying to make $1 million off it. There's really actually no reason to even make a chess program, a chess website, because there's already two huge major ones out there. So you'd be reinventing the wheel by doing it. So it's kind of ridiculous, but I think it's fun, and you never know what can happen. You never know what can happen. I've noticed like a lot of games that are already figured out, even the smaller platforms still get like a few users. So you never know. And also the AI question, right? The what do you call it? Claude. That's what I use, Claude. So you can build stuff. I've heard this talking point a lot recently, like you can just do things. You can just do things. You can just do things, and something like Claude is like that. Like you can just build an application. You can just build one. Like you can just do things. You can just do things. So you can just build a platform, right? If you just want to. Right? So you just sign up for the account and you prompt it. It's good to have a lot of technical knowledge up front. It certainly makes your life a lot easier. Um, but still, there's a lot of testing. There's a lot of testing. So they build stuff for you, and you still got to test it out. You still got to see how it works. Um, I mean, one thing I found out with coding this game is that I have to use two laptops. I have to use two laptops, right? Because I'm testing one user playing against another user. So I'm gonna have two laptops. And I don't have a crazy big screen setup. I don't have that. And I actually got sort of lazy and I didn't even know how to run two NPM servers at the same time. Like I didn't want to I didn't want to open two terminals and set the environment variable for a different port. Anyway, I'm using two different laptops. It's good to do it that way also because you're sort of that's like testing how it works in the real world, right? In the real world, everybody in the world doesn't have the same laptop, right? They all have different laptops, different browsers. So that's how I be testing stuff. In fact, I can actually show the screen that I'm on. That's the code setup. That's Cursor, which is basically just like VS Code. I do use NeoVim too, but the thing with NeoVim is a few months ago, they suddenly just changed. I use LazyVim, right? They just changed stuff. They just changed stuff. So I turned on NeoVim. I update all the plugins I have, and it doesn't work. NeoVim doesn't work because they just, like I said, people just do things, right? And so they just changed NeoVim. Really, I just had to like change a few configuration things here and there, but still, my NeoVim's a little bit broken. It keeps throwing up all these like Lua errors. So, but NeoVim is awesome. It's fun. Vim motions are fun. I recommend Vim motions a lot. How do you quit out of Vim? That's one of the famous questions. Like, how do I quit out of Vim? What do I do? Okay. What's it called? Semicolon or colon? The two dots, right? The two dots. You hit the two dots. If you want to save the file, WQ. Okay, so the colon WQ, which means write quit, right? Write it, which means save it. Q, quit. Close the editor. Write quit. Write quit. Write quit. If you want to exit Vim without saving anything, if you want to basically be like, this was an accident, I have no idea what I was doing, I messed up, I just want to quit. Okay. Q exclamation point. Did I get that right? Q exclamation, or is it Q? Yeah, Q exclamation. Q exclamation is that one thing up, and then the dot. Like, hey, 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 exclamation point. Q exclamation point means quit. It's like a hard quit. Now, if you just do colon Q, quit, Vim might give you some sort of question. They might be like, hey, do you want to look at this, look at that? We have something in the buffer. Well, Q exclamation is like, I just don't want any I don't want any BS. Just get me out of here. That's how you quit Vim. Right? Q exclamation. If you want to save it, if you want to save what you're doing, write quit, WQ. Okay. To insert, to start writing on a document. Just the letter I, insert. That goes into insert mode, right? Insert mode. One thing I often do, just like beginners do, is like you might type something by accident. You might accidentally type something, right? How do you undo that? Right? I would advise you to hit escape. Escape basically reverts your whatever you hit on your keyboard back to a certain mode. Okay, escape, hit escape, and then just hit U, just the letter U, undo. Escape U. Escape U, undo. Right, so you'll undo what you were just doing. So yeah, that's a quick Vim course there. Vim or any other coding thing, it's a fun, interesting endeavor because there's so many tutorials out there and crash course stuff where My big thing is like people that zip through it, right? Just be like, oh, this is easy, it's simple. You just it's simple. You can do it in it's simple, it's simple. That's the word that they love to use. Simple. It's simple, it's simple, 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 simple. It is simple, but it's not easy, right? It's simple, but it's not easy. Um, so that's the Vim crash course. I wonder if anybody remembers VI. VI was like something similar to Vim. Um, so yeah, if you're into developing, I mean, you gotta know what text editing is. Know what the IDE is, right? VS Code is still huge. VS Code is still the king of IDEs. When I first started coding, something like IntelliJ was closer to being the top IDE. But VS Code is still huge. I mean, it's made by Microsoft. You know what they're doing. I mean, I use Cursor, which is just like somehow it's like a clone of VS Code. I don't know how the developers like got away with just copying VS Code, but Cursor is like the same thing as VS Code. One reason I stopped with VS Code is like VS Code is like too powerful. It's too powerful. You could say it takes up too much space, takes up too much RAM, whatever you want to call it, takes up space. But it's also just like a distraction, like VS Code is like a it's like an Xbox, it can do all kinds of stuff. It's too distracting. Um, but yeah, I use Cursor. Cursor's cool. Um, Now machine learning, data science, LLMs, that's all huge now. I've definitely gone down the path of learning that stuff. I've gone through intensive learning of it. In fact, one time I went to take this exam to be a certified LLM guy. And interesting thing is like I go to take the exam and it doesn't work. I have my exam date. Luckily for me, I actually didn't have to pay to take the test. This company sponsored it. I go to take the test on the day, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. The site doesn't work. They have this like photo identification process to go through where like you, I guess, take a picture of yourself and they verify that it's you, or they verify they know what it looks like when your eyes are moving around, something like that. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. I even try my other laptop. I try to make it work on my other laptop. I try this, I try that, I try refreshing the screen. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So maybe that's a problem with like all this online learning, online work, remote work stuff is sometimes you get the technical difficulties and it doesn't work, and it's unfortunate because it was an important thing for me. I had to take the test. I really needed to take this test and I couldn't take it. And so my LLM AI journey sort of ended right there. Right there. I went to take the test. I studied all this stuff, and then I couldn't take the test. But honestly, I should try again. But I don't really want to pay to take a test. Something like it's like at least $200 or something. Um, right now, I'm sticking to my web development for now. I'm into Cursor. I'm into Claude Code. Claude Code is certainly very helpful because I still do a lot of heavy lifting. Like I code like all of it. I code a ton of it, but I do occasionally run into these bugs. Actually, I run into bugs all the time, but I run into these issues. And the thing is like I've been going at it for hours and hours and hours, and it's like, and I'm testing it and it's not working, and it's sort of like, okay, just figure it out. Like I just add this extra thing in. I don't know exactly how to do it right now. Could you just because at worst, something like Claude just gives you an idea. What they do is the way Claude code works is you have your code base, you have it on GitHub, and your Claude is synced with GitHub. Like Claude joins your project on GitHub. Claude is like a team member. And so what Claude does is anytime you prompt it and ask for stuff, Claude will create a branch on GitHub, make all the code, make a commit, add all the commit messages, and push to your remote branch. So your remote branch will now have Claude code on it. And so it's like Claude is like a team member. So at worst, you can just see what Claude has to provide, what they're saying, and you can try that. So I think that's really cool. The downside is it costs money. It costs money, which sucks. For a while, they said, "Oh, it's $17." Claude is $17 a month, but really, it's over. It's more than 17. So I'm not too psyched about that. I don't think I want more than 1 month of Claude code. I'm not sure. I might give up on it. Um, yeah. One of my big passions is PostgreSQL, SQL, which for people that don't know, SQL is database stuff. No, it is not Microsoft Excel. It's not Google Sheets. It's not Microsoft Excel. It's actually way different. It's way different. It's I like to describe Postgres as Excel if God used Excel. If God used Excel, maybe there's a Postgres comparison. But the big idea with Postgres and SQL is they are relational databases. So you don't just have one table with information on it. You don't just have one table. You have numerous tables. And all the information, all the stuff on the rows and all those tables relate to each other. And at that point, you can have a project. At that point, you can have a project. You can do much more than just do data stuff. You can actually create its concepts of how a program is going to work. So it's relational database. It's a system of it's a really cool system of information. So I'm still the big Postgres SQL guy. Um, like there's all these like things on like LeetCode. There's a similar website called StrataScratch where they have like SQL problems, like like how many taxis can be scheduled in a city given this table and that table, problems like that, or problems like find the minimum salary in this department. They got all these SQL problems, and I've basically gone through all the toughest problems on all those sites and solved them. I've solved like all major SQL problems. Admittedly, there's a couple that really drive me crazy. It's they mostly deal with like very specialized grouping grouping or even like pivot. Recently, I tried doing a pivoting problem and I got stuck on that. And the solution for pivoting is quite brilliant, but um, yeah. So I'm still the SQL guy. I recommend people learn it. Mostly because I just think it's fun. I think it's cool to know SQL. Um, yeah, I mean it's really an awesome thing. I see this talking point a lot, like data is king. Data, it's all data, right? Because recently there's been this thing about how like Tailwind and Stack Overflow, Tailwind and Stack Overflow have clearly taken huge hits because of all this AI stuff. So Tailwind is laying off a lot of engineers, just about everyone, because the revenues for Tailwind just fell off the map. And the reason the revenues for Tailwind fell off the map is because everybody's interacting with Tailwind through ChatGPT or anything else, Claude. And so what happens is they're prompting AI to help them with Tailwind, and people aren't going to the Tailwind website. And that's how Tailwind would make money, right? It's an online company. So people in the back in the day would go to the Tailwind website, look through their stuff, copy and paste stuff, and then a certain percentage of people would purchase the Tailwind templates or whatever Tailwind was selling. And now Tailwind can't make money anymore because of the LLM stuff. Similar story to Stack Overflow. Perhaps a lot of LLMs were trained on Stack Overflow. I've heard, I don't know how true it is, I've heard that Microsoft Copilot was trained on all of Stack Overflow questions and answers. Don't know how true that is, but Stack Overflow, Tailwind, they're taking hits, right now. But the idea is like data is what brought these two sites down, because the whatever data they used to train LLMs, they had to get it from somewhere, and they got it from scraping or APIs or whatever. They did research. They researched sites like that. So that explains why these coding LLMs have gotten so powerful. It's really incredible. I think what sticks out to me, what they've been so good at, and mind you, I'm not like a crazy programmer. I'm not doing incredible logic. I'm not doing huge system designs. Um, so this is just a take coming from someone who does full stack web stuff. Is that these LLMs are so good at debugging. Their debugging is like crazy good. Like they can look at what you're doing and then just find what little thing you missed. Like what did you overlook? The LLMs are so good at finding what you overlooked. That must have something to do with reasoning, right? Because these LLMs, they have reasoning capabilities. It's not just what they were doing a couple years ago. What LLMs were doing a couple years ago is they were purely doing, I don't know the correct term, semantic or contextual text stuff, right? They were finding similarities between text and using they were just purely LLMs. They were just language models, right? And then, but now they have reasoning capabilities. They can solve problems. I do know stuff about how that works. It's very turgid. So for some reason, the reasoning ability of LLMs make them so good at just finding bugs, just finding, like they can basically solve for why, right? They can solve for why, right? They have a problem in front of them, and you're prompting them, asking them, hey, can you solve for why? Can you find what's missing here? Find the missing thing. And that's what makes them so good at debugging. It's like wild. It's pretty cool. Now I've not straight up just had an LLM just make a whole program for me. I've just not. I could definitely do it now. I have a subscription for Claude. I could just do it if I wanted to. But I'm caught up in the middle of this project right now, so I'm gonna have it help me out with the debugging of the project. So yeah, if you like my live, if you want to subscribe, uh, please subscribe, and yeah, have a happy 2026.